Welcome to the Green Grind Podcast, where we discuss real experience, real struggles, and real business. My name is Leroy Maines. I'm with Brilliant Borders Landscaping, and we have Corey Ballard, who's the founder of Perfect Cut Site Management and Ballard Innovative Products. As always, we have Kaz, who's the brains of this thing, getting it from our mouth to your ears and eyes. Just a friendly reminder that the Green Grind is sponsored by Jobber and ProTiv. And today, Corey and I are talking with Matt Roach. Matt is the owner of Roach Brothers Lawn Care, located in Cape May, New Jersey. Matt, welcome to the Green Grind. Glad to have you on our show today.
Awesome to be here, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. And you're actually the first guest in the new Ballard studio. World headquarters here. Yeah. Corey and I recorded one.
Kickoff.
We recorded one, and you're the inaugural first guest. So
it's awesome. I've been watching your story, Corey, on you updating with the building and all that, and so it's neat to see it.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, we actually need to do another one. I'll talk to Kaz. We need to do one in the warehouse because it's really much more organized. I think I've shown it a little bit, but it's much more organized now. And excuse me, but our offices are looking good. And this is our first one in the new studio, and we got a camera behind, so hopefully we'll get a little bit better perspective for anybody that watches our promo videos. And we haven't done though. Originally, we were going to post a few of these on YouTube, and I don't know that we've got to that just because I don't know.
Everybody's busy.
Everybody's just
going
busy.
On.
Exactly. Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you reaching out and doing the podcast with us. We're going to dig in here and find out a little bit about you and your company, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Matt, tell our listeners, if you would, please, how did you get your start in the green industry?
So I graduated high school in 2013. In about 2011, I lived down the street from a real estate agent. And we had an elderly couple down the street that needed their leaves cleaned up. So I said, okay, no problem. So it kind of started from doing leaf cleanups for one neighbor, and then the next neighbor, and then the next neighbor. And then one of them asked me about cutting grass, and I said, okay, well, when school's over, and I'm a junior in high school, that summer going into senior year. And ever since then, it's just went downhill. Now we have half that neighborhood where I grew up in. So
downhill. That's what it's supposed to go uphill. You're supposed to be excited about it. Did you have any intention of starting a business or running a business, or was it just like, hey, I'm going to make some extra money, I'm going to put some cash in my pocket to get through my senior year, and we'll see what happens?
Really, at the time, I was a dock attendant at a local marina, like big sport fishing boats. People from Florida come up here in the summer, and they bring these yachts, and it was a great job, but doing the landscaping was my first taste of, doing my own pricing and getting things together on my end. And I was like, wow, I can kind of make some money doing this. At the time it was just a rake and a couple bags and barrels, but I'd never even had a backpack blower until I figured out what that stuff was. Cause like I said, at first I just thought leaves, just rake them to the curb and the city comes.
Yeah. Interesting way to get started with it. I think so many guys, I shouldn't say so many guys, so many kids anymore working for somebody else. Nobody thinks of going out and doing manual labor much anymore.
No, nobody wants to get their hands dirty.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that you did that because you said you graduated in 2011, correct?
2013. Yes, 13, sir. And then 11 was when I started all that, and then just kept going with it.
Gotcha. So what did you do? Did you do any college or anything after school, or did you go directly into your company then?
So right after high school, we have a summer police program down here. And I did that over in one of our local cities. And then, like I said, that was part-time for about 6 months. And the landscaping was still making the money, if that makes sense. I did that. And then I got a job throwing trash with a local city. That was full time, but still, the cutting grass every day and then cleanups on weekends and still having friends local. It just became the better option personally.
Certainly. So your name is Roach Brothers. So do you have a brother in the business, or is that what you just decided to name the company? Talk to us about that.
Well, when we were younger, that's how everyone knew of us. There's three of us, me and two brothers, and the Roach family, the Roach kids. We did baseball and all kinds of sports. So I don't know. I thought of Roach Brothers because I had my one brother, and actually I've done it years before I had my brothers involved, which is weird. But my one brother helped us through college, and then he helped me until he got his full-time job. And now my youngest brother, he's my right-hand man. He's been with us now. So
is he, so your youngest brother works with you full-time. Does he have any ownership? Is he an employee? How's that working?
I guess I would say he's my number one employee. He handles the mowing side. If I'm sick or if I'm hurt, it's turnkey. He knows what to do. he's my right hand man.
Right.
Let me ask you this: does he know if he's an owner or if he's on, if he's your right hand man?
He knows. He knows he's my right hand man.
Gotcha.
He's I tell everyone, to tell him, you don't work for your brother, you work with your family. Like my dad helps the landscaping side, he's a bit older, so he'll pull weeds, trim bushes with another guy. So I like to say, we're all family. I don't like to say, my brother works for I work for my brother. I work for my older brother. It's my older brother's business. I'm very close to my family, so I like to tell everybody, I don't treat them like, garbage or anything like that. So.
Right. No. But at the end of the day, my challenge for you on this, Matt, and maybe for our listeners, is because I think what happens and can happen is it's all fun and you guys are tight and it's a good family deal. But at the end of the day, you have to make the decisions, right? And so, 100%. Your brother, when you say, I don't work for my brother, I work with my brother. But at the end of the day, when things start to grow or things start to change or tough decisions have to be made, that's where it gets challenging. Does he want ownership? Have you promised him any ownership? Have you guys had any conversations that look like that?
He doesn't like the landscaping side, I guess I'd say. I love the mulching and the trimming and the bushes and, fertilizing, things like that. I love all that. He doesn't. So he runs the mowing side with 2 other guys and plus myself if I need to jump in. We have 4 days a week where it's heavy mowing, so I will mow 4 days a week. I'm technically still in the field full time. So he understands once my landscaping's set up and I'm good, he can pretty much take this over. And then we've talked about him earning much more than he is now for him to be in full control of that. Because that's what he loves to do, and I don't love to do that as much anymore.
Okay,
so.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Well, and what I was actually getting at was from the ownership standpoint of if you grow this thing into a $4 or $5 million organization, and I was listening to a podcast last week, and basically kind of what happened is that a couple of buddies got together, had a couple of beers on their deck, and decided to start this company. And I know it's different with you, it's family, but the guy, then went through COVID, the business kind of tanked, and the guy said, well, I'm out. I got to go get a job. This guy continued to do the business. Blew it up. And guess what? The guy had some ownership in the company and still had some ownership in the company because it was legally, he had it and they never took him off the thing. So that's why what I was getting at is if this thing sometime blows up, what does this actually look like for your family? And that can be really, really easy now when you guys are just both grinding and out doing your thing until it actually grows into something big. And then it's like, oh, we're all family. We love each other, but there's,
Right. Well, and Matt, I've had enough experience in this business to know, with partners, and I had no partner at one point, but, life changes and somebody has, gets married and they have kids and now one guy wants to work 60 hours a week and one guy wants to work 40 and he's got to be off to coach Little League or go to church or whatever those other engagements are. And so, I'm not saying you have to do what works for your family, but for our listeners, it's just super important that you continue to change your business and you continue to communicate though, because people's lives change. I mean, in the beginning, we just worked fucking crazy hours and nobody cared. Nobody was married. Nobody had kids. We just worked. And we just said, we'll figure it out later. Well, the problem was later actually started to happen. Mm-hmm. And people started saying, well, I've been here with you, Corey, for 6 years and I've been working side by side. So where's my ownership? I'm like, well, you don't own anything. And they're like, well, we've been doing this together. And I'm like, well, I know, but you didn't have any of the risk. And so those were some uncomfortable and awkward times. And I was good friends with those guys. We hunted, we fished, we drank some beers together. I was in guys' weddings that I ultimately had to let go at one point, and it was tough. Yeah. And so it's just always nice to have open communication. And maybe right now with your brother, you guys are young enough, it's working totally fine. But if it changes, I just encourage you to be super honest and open.
Well, and I like what you said too, because it's a whole lot easier to have a conversation when you have a $150,000 company than it is when you have a $1.5 million company.
Things get weird.
Yeah, things get a lot different. So, Matt, you said that your brother runs the lawn side, I believe you said, or is working on that side, and you're doing more of the landscaping side. What services are you guys offering, and how big of a team do you guys have right now?
So we do. I like to say full service, but we don't do irrigation or spraying like for weeds. Like I have my fertilization license. We do the weekly mowing, the weekly landscape visits for pulling weeds, trimming shrubs, the weekly accounts. So everything from mulching. We'll do light patios. Like I've done a bunch of irregular bluestone, things like that. I've never done regular paver patios. We do lift and relays. Like I've fixed jobs. The problem is I've always been scared to get into the bigger stuff because right now it's my brother, myself, and my father with 2 full-time guys. So I can go off and do landscaping by myself as long as it's not too big and they can cut grass, or me and my dad can do other things. But if someone calls out, then I'm cutting grass. So there's been times where I've picked up, like big stone jobs or big mulch jobs, and someone calls out and now I have to go cut grass, so it's kind of, we're in some growing, I don't want to say pains. I mean, it works out. It's not a problem, but that's kind of where we're at the moment.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I'm glad you said that, Matt, because I remember being at that size too. And I remember it even being bigger than that. But when our mowing, when we had people out, and you say call out, call in sick, quit, whatever, we would have to pull everybody off to go mow. So here we had, and at the time we were probably quite a bit bigger than that. And I remember we had these great margin, great landscape jobs, residential back then, patios to put in, remulches. And here's all my landscape, highest paid guys. We're all out fucking cutting grass because it's spring. Grass is 8 inches tall. It's raining every other day. And so we felt that pain for a couple seasons until we finally just said, this is madness. Like if you're in the landscape division, you're a landscaper. We have to figure out how the mowing gets done. Like we can't just same deal. I would be out on a mower. My dad my uncle would come jump on a mower. My brothers were, anybody I'd call, on a Sunday, I'd be like, hey, does anybody want to get some hours this week? Kind of like that bullshit we see on Facebook all the time. Like, does anybody want to work tomorrow? Yes. That's how it felt. And so it was really a weird thing. And I know a lot of our listeners get this because sometimes, the grass is growing an inch a day. It's got to be cut. That landscape job can be done, really. I can remulch Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday. So it is a weird spot to be in. And then it just, and then you're out cutting grass and you're probably making more money. You would be making more money on your remulch or your other job that you'd be doing. So definitely been there. I'm sure, Leroy, I don't know. Do you remember, did you keep everybody in the same spot or did you have to pull guys?
No, we had to pull guys and I've had to be out, on a lawnmower at different times. And it sucks when you're there. And I really figured out that, first of all, you have to hire the right people. That makes the biggest difference. But man, if they start calling out, if they call out once every 2 weeks now,
it's over.
They're going to continue to do that forever. It never ends. The behaviors don't change. And so we're like, hey, we had a guy this morning, in fact, 15 minutes late for work. And it was about the third Monday in a row he was late for work or whatever. And I pulled him off to the side. I said, hey, our huddle starts at 7:30. You need to be here at 7:30. And he's like, well, I got this and this. I said,
no matter.
I said, can you be here at 7:30? Well, yeah, I can. I said, okay. Cause if you can't work here any longer.
Right.
Just make it crystal clear. And I think when that happens, your team responds to that very quickly. The problem is now is if he's not next Monday, if he's not there at 7:30, we got to say, hey,
you got to fire him.
Yeah. And it's got to be like that day. Yep. No matter what. So it's a tough situation when you're in that thing, and it's very, very tough to get out of that situation, especially as you're growing.
Luckily right now with us, we're at a point where my youngest brother's 18 and I'm 29. So I have one buddy that got out of the service that helps us on weekends. I got my brother-in-law, my fiance's family owns restaurants. They're Greek. So I have her family that helps us sometimes. So, and we have one of my brother's friends. So we always we all know each other. So no one's been able to screw anybody over. You know what I'm saying? Like that at least.
Yeah. So that's probably working good for you. And you're also in that age group, and your youngest brother certainly is, where you probably got a decent pool of guys. He probably knows a few dudes that want to get their hands dirty. You're still young enough that you probably know a few guys. And that was always one of our saviors in the beginning when we were young. And my younger brother was 5 years younger than me. And I'd just be like, hey, Nick, you got any buddies that want to work? He's like, yeah, I got 2 buddies. They're crackheads, but we're going to bring them. But I'm like, hey, are they on? Because if they're on crack, they should be fast. Are they on the up or are they coming down? But, it's
not
tough.
long term, but it works.
It
works.
Does work. And I just encourage guys to try to get some solutions that work long term. And to Leroy's point, not to get on a tangent here, but man, if you have people that are not showing up, are constantly late, you got to get rid of him. I know it sucks because I've been there, and here's what you tell yourself. Man, when he's here, he's pretty good, and I really need him on Friday. But if he's going to screw you on a Monday and he screws you on a Tuesday, it's only a matter of time before he doesn't show on that Friday. And the longer you procrastinate and the longer you do that, I mean, we got to the point, this is almost embarrassing. We got to the point it was so bad. At the time, we were probably running 10 mowing crews at that time. We did a shitload of mowing. And we had to start giving checks on Saturday because we mowed a lot on Saturday. We did all the all the R&R stuff, so all 3 fountains. We did all these big industrial parks, and only day you could do them was on Saturdays because they had millions of cars in the parking lots. They were overhanging islands, and you just had to do them on Saturdays, and you could do them way more efficient on Saturdays as well. So we needed like everybody on Saturdays, and we usually could get down by 1 or 2. But nobody showed up on Saturday. We paid our people on Friday, and every Saturday morning we needed 22 guys, and every Saturday morning we'd have about 12. And so we had to start giving checks on Saturdays. I mean, that's how embarrassing it got to. Like, we had to literally hold, and people, and the guys that were good were like, I've never missed a Saturday. That's bullshit. And it makes sense. So they're like, so I don't get my paycheck because you keep hiring shitty people that don't show up? And I was like, yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the way it works, though, is it starts to affect everybody in the organization. Yeah. And I can tell you that if you don't nip it when you're early and your company is small, it's still a problem when you're big.
Yeah, it just gets worse.
Because we've had the issue. We had it last year. We still have it this year. I was just talking, if you don't fix it, it's going to be a problem. And if you can get it into your culture immediately that, hey, these guys just show up on time and they do this and this is what they do, your new guys will do that.
Yeah, they'll show up. We went on a huge tangent there about that whole operation. Cool. But what do you, in your business then, where do you see the opportunity for growth, or where do you see your company in the next, couple of years with, you're doing both services? What would you like to be doing, and where do you see it going?
Hey guys, if you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. You can also put comments in there that we'd love to share. Now, a word from our sponsor. Hey guys, a shout out to our sponsor Jobber for the Green Grind podcast. Jobber is a software that you can use in your business so you can spend less time on admin tasks and more time on focusing and growing your business. From creating quotes to the moment you're paid, Jobber brings the tedious admin tasks you've been doing manually together to make running your business and managing your customers a seamless process.
Are you tired of those spam calls about your online presence and website? I know you're nodding your head right now. Finding a company that knows the details about the lawn and landscape industry can be difficult. Well, I have a solution for you. Let me introduce you to Green Frog Web Design. We all know growing your business in our digital age requires an effective online presence, a website geared towards bringing in new customers. With fierce competition and a never-ending line of chucking the trucks ready to take your place, DIYing your online presence is not a serious option for growing businesses. Find a trustworthy and effective solution with Green Frog Web Design. Oh, and by the way, the first month for a new website is $1. Link is in the bio.
So next year we're definitely bringing on a third person. So without me, there'd be my brother and 2 guys cut grass about 4 days a week. We do cut grass on 5 days, but that Fridays usually are full service accounts where we'll cut 6 lawns, but we trim the bushes, pull the weeds. So as long as he has the help, then I can get out and do landscaping with my father until, again, we have enough work till someone works with me doing the landscaping 5 days a week. So like I said, next year, luckily, and not to backtrack a little bit, but with COVID, where I'm at, a lot of guys really fight for that hardscape, retaining wall, all that kind of work. And when COVID hit, we're one of the guys where we do a lot of mowing and a lot of maintenance. And that really kept us afloat during COVID and just really kept the ball spinning with how we operate and all the work that just every year just carries over. Like in the winter, I send our spring letters out, and I know all the full service accounts. So we know the money that's going to come in from those accounts. So like I said, I can kind of budget to where I know next year we're going to find that third person for the mowing so I can be out and then do landscaping.
Sure. Yeah. So that residual work is nice. And, we talked to a lot of companies and they want to get out of mowing and they want to get into hardscape and they start to fall in love with this hardscape. And it can be done either way. I'm a big fan of residual work. I like the mowing. I like the maintenance. I like the remulch. I like the pruning. I just like that guaranteed revenue. If you're a landscape only company, it can be great, but you're only as good as that next job. And so like Leroy's business, he's got to constantly, they do some maintenance obviously, but they got to constantly be getting those leads because if those leads run dry, it's slow, and that's not fun.
Yeah, nights get a little long in the old Maine's house.
Yeah, they kick the dog and beat the wife. And what are you doing? Are you doing any marketing for more work, or are you pretty content with what you have? And is it all residential?
So Corey, the funny story. So up the road is Rutgers College, and about 6 years ago, some guy called me to do a quote with him, and I said, "Yeah, no problem." He jumps in the truck, nice guy, just drives me around this complex. I had no idea what commercial was, and now we've had these two commercial complexes for Rutgers University for about 5-6 years, and one's like 3 acres, and the other one's about half an acre. But that's the only, and we cut my fiance's restaurant and a few other restaurants on the island where we live. But besides that, commercial work. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. But residential, long time ago when I started out, the door hanger thing, what I learned was when my truck was parked, my old pickup truck, every time I did a cleanup, and we still do it in the spring, I put a door hanger on every house around the house that I was doing. And believe it or not, that's really the only marketing I ever paid for, and I still pay for, is a basic door hanger. Whenever we do a cleanup in the spring or the fall, we put it around each house, that we're at. And that in the long run has created our route density. Like with the mowing, we'll do 10 lawns next to each other, go down the street, do 3, and then a couple more. And almost every lawn we have, there's one where we can park the truck and do at least a couple. That's
nice.
One way that's fun.
It's so simple. I'm glad you said that, Matt. It's like so simple. And I say that to people all the time, like, so when you stop and do a job, like, so our deal used to be like, we had these door hangers made at one point that just said, today your neighbor was serviced by Perfect Cut. This was the services that we did. If you're interested in any of our services, please give us a call. Here's our website. And only thing we had them do, that we did this in lawn apps, especially with the fertilization and weed control. And the tech would put one on the house to the right and the house to the left. That's all they had to do. It takes literally, I don't know, 2 minutes, minute and a half probably. And he would just we had these little things made that they hooked right on their belt. They just had some door hangers in them. When he was out doing the deal, just hook. And you wouldn't believe how easy it was. And I'm like, these things cost us like 15 cents a piece or whatever the number. I mean, they're nothing, probably not even that much because we were getting a shitload of them. But yeah, I mean, it's such a simple way to get work. I mean, and people think that door hangers, I'm not a big fan of just dropping door hangers off. Now, if you're doing work in that area and the door hangers specific, because like at my house, I don't know about you, Leroy, in a new neighborhood, but I got fucking door hangers. I mean, every day I got some painter, window cleaner, lawn care, pest control. I mean, I don't know why, but my neighborhood is just every day. But if somebody does service, I think it makes a ton of sense. Like if I'm, my neighbor's got tons of glass and their windows are clean, I'm like, shit, I need a window cleaner. But it's such an easy way to do that for sure. So real quick, I just want to know this. I'm just kind of curious. So you are on an island. Are you just servicing an island, or are you guys going across? Like, how does that logistically work?
So we're right off the Cape May Bridge. And it is an island. Yes, there's 2 bridges there, but pretty much in every direction of me right now, besides north, like you can't even go 10 miles, So it's like we're pretty much at the end of the road, pretty much. If you look at New Jersey all the way at the bottom, like a few lawns we have, I could throw a baseball into the beach. Like that's how at the bottom we are, So
interesting. I just didn't know.
And that's one thing that's pretty. I don't want to say it's competitive down here. We have a lot of summer people. So I get a lot of people that are like, oh, Matthew, where I live, I can call a plumber and there'll be 30 within like a mile, and someone will come out that day. Down here, it's not like that. You have 5 plumbers within 20 miles. You have 10 landscapers within, 10 or 20 miles. It's pretty like it's very seasonal down here. But if you have the work and you can survive through the winter, you're golden. Like I said, you just got to pick up the phone because they go right down the list. When they call you, and that's around down the Google listing, I guess I'd say. That's how it works. So
are these most of these houses, I guess a couple of things. Are they their primary homes? Are they vacation homes? And
it's all vacation and rentals down here. It's all
that's what I
rentals. We have about 250 properties, 250-ish. I've met maybe maybe around 100 people within the whole time we've been doing their lawns. They're never down. If they are, it's about, going over work, but it's all rentals. and it's a lot of rentals down here.
That's
all it
interesting.
So do they care about? So
Yeah, here we
about
go.
the I'm thinking about the price, Matt, because I own some rental stuff too, and
Transactional.
I'm thinking like, okay, so if I got a rental house there, right, and we got a place in Florida, and I have somebody that mows it, it's like $25. It's dirt cheap, but they mow the whole freaking everybody in this. They mow everybody, but I really don't care. I don't really care how good. I mean, it's a weird thing. Like if somebody came along for $22 a cut, I'd be like, fuck it, let's go. Because I don't now. So it's kind of a weird thing. Like I want it to be done right, and they do a little pruning while they're there, and they spruce up the edges. But I just start to think like if I'm not there and it's not my personal home, do I value Roach Brother Lawn Care, or do I value Joe and Chuck in a truck that says he'll do it for $25?
The price, yeah, because I was thinking the exact same thing. Because we are always like build the business. It's the relationships that you build with them. Tell your story, and you're almost the exact opposite of what we preach on the show.
Yeah. So how does that work?
So down here, and if you have the time to just Google it or YouTube it real quick, every home down here, it really starts from like 600,000 to millions.
Yep.
It's these rentals I'm talking about will sleep 15 to 20 people, 2 stories. They really want the full, a lot of them, believe it or not, they sign up for the winter and they're like, hey, you need to make sure this, and this is taken care of. We good to go? Good to go. And then they have their own property manager for the interior of the home. It's pretty, I would say it's pretty intense. I mean, it's so bad down here with the beach vacationers that the locals are having a hard time buying a home, believe it or not.
I'm sure.
But these homes, they buy them. It's like them older beach shacks, and they either knock them down or flip them and gut them. And it's like I said, it sleeps massive amounts of people. A lot of it is full service, believe it or not. I mean, the further north you go where the homes get cheaper, those kind of people will pay less because the further north you go is more populated. You have to drive like 30 minutes to the beach, and they're like, no, but the beach isn't down the street like in their posted video on Zillow. You know what I mean? It's actually, like I said, 30 minutes away, But the closer to the island of Cape May and on the island, they care. It's, believe it or not, it's a very historical district. You have to maintain your home. The homes have to be edged. Like you can't have, the code enforcement is all over the place, which is a good thing because it keeps certain people away from the certain work you want, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, that does.
So are you doing snow removal,
That was
like
my
the whole
question,
gamut on all of this stuff for these customers? And how are you pricing
we have one boss plow. So we have what's called bed and breakfast down here. And luckily, so far, knock on wood, they're all just a quick little pass on a driveway or a 2-story driveway. And some of them aren't even home. They don't even open in the winter, but some are year round. But one thing, and it hasn't nipped me in the butt yet, but we have one plow for our dump truck. And we do just 2 restaurants and my fiance's family's restaurant. And that's it. It's not, I've never gotten that kind of work. A lot of people come from up the road to do. Like down here, we have Walmarts and Wawas, and they just go with the cheapest bidder. They don't really care.
Yeah.
But residential wise, we have maybe 100. We lay off the 2 guys, and me and my brother really do that in the winter if we have snow. Like last year, we had 1 storm. 2 years ago, we didn't have a storm, but 3 years ago, we had a blizzard where, I kid you not, like you look at your phone and it was nonstop ringing off the hook. It was unbelievable. Because down here, we're not really prepared for it because, again, if you look where we're at, a lot of the snow breaks up over the Delaware Bay when it comes from out west, like through Pennsylvania. But if it doesn't break up, we get smacked like up north where you have that lake effect snow, I believe. When it comes, it comes. But sometimes with us, it breaks up or we get a couple feet, and it's bad down here. I mean, even our public works guys, the cities down here don't have the giant plows on the giant trucks. They just have the pickup trucks with the straight blades. So that's how dumb I am. I don't pay attention. I assumed you guys just got hammered with snow.
Yeah.
I just thought Jersey could get hammered, like New York, Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
I see Buffalo. They can't play a football game. The whole goddamn stadium's under. I mean, it's full of snow.
Up north gets it, but down south, how we're at on the island, it just breaks up over the ocean and the bay. But if it sticks, we get smacked. We get smacked hard.
Interesting.
We got calls years ago from doctors' offices. I remember a pediatrician's office. I'm just like, hey, I spent the money 2 years ago and not that year on a plow, but I'm so scared of something breaking, and it's brand new pretty much, but I just had these 2 restaurants and my family's restaurant, my fiance's, that I need to get done. And then besides that, we do the few residential. And like I said, during those storms, since we do residential, we actually have a Ram with a small old trailer that has the Toros we have for the snow removal.
Yep.
And if we're parked somewhere and we have all the lights on, I tell my brother, they'll come out, if it's, and they just flock out, they come out. It's
that is something with residential. If you anytime somebody, anytime it snows and if someone's doing residential, even I think I told you last year, I offered those guys $100 to do my sidewalk. We had one week of we had a 12-inch snow, then a 2-day break, and another 10 inches.
Yeah, something like that. It was a monster.
And my freaking sidewalk was 2 feet deep. And I went out there and shoveled 2 feet of it. And this whole crew was next door with blowers. And I said, hey guys, I'll give you $100 just to run my sidewalk. And he said, no. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, we got so many places to be. And I'm like, dude, it'll take you 5-6 minutes. Just go up and back. And he said, no. And I'm like, just the whole $100. I'm like, if I would have been thinking, I'd have been like 200. Because I'm like, I don't know. What am I going to do? Yeah. It was my sidewalk's a couple hundred feet long, and I'm like, holy shit. And it's all drifted from that lot next door. Oh my God, it was a net. But
we plan for it to not happen, but if it happens, it's just icing on the cake, I guess you'd say. And like I said, we'll park in one spot with all the lights on and pull the trailer out. And when people hear that machine, because a lot of guys won't do snow removal down here. And that's one thing too, where I've gotten a lot of full service accounts was we've done the snow in the middle of the winter. And they're like, oh, well, what else do you do? And we give them, other info and things like that. And that's one thing that's kept it going. Because like I said, they have rentals down here that are bed and breakfasts, I guess, like I said. And they have people there and their guy can't do it. So it works out. When it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, that's fine too.
Man, are you doing work then for a lot of what I would consider property managers? Or are you doing work for directly for the homeowners? Or is it a mix of both probably?
Yeah. So in the past, the communication with property managers and down here, randomly, if a homeowner comes by and wonders why this wasn't done. And then I said, well, the property manager never told us. I got rid of that a long time ago. So we have one property management company I would say we work for, but I go through the owner. I tell them I don't care. Have the owner call me, tell them what they want done, because that property manager goes off the same list at a apartment complex that he does for $1 million home down here. And it's not the same. It's just miscommunication in the past. And I've never had an issue. I've said directly, hey, please have the owner call me. They send you this list of stuff that isn't even associated with a residential home, that they want you to do. It didn't work out in the past. So
so why haven't you just gone? I look at it as I would go directly to the property owner and say, hey, why don't I just be your guy for the outside of this thing and take it over? I'll take care of all your lawn, your snow, whatever, and I'll charge you $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month, whatever the case is, and just build your business that way. Is that something you've attempted yet?
So we have actually touched into the property management department, because down here too, once it gets cold, these people head to Florida already. So we help with winterization of homes, or winterizing homes, you'd say, turning the water off, things like that. We've got into, in the winter, I have a list where I'll go in the attic, check for leaks, ice dams, mice sometimes. I've gotten, I don't advertise it, like I said, but we've gotten into it if a good customer has asked, because I'm slowly getting into that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that'd be a good avenue. I would think, Matt, that would be a really cool niche to say, listen, we'll take care of it. Here's our rundown. Here's all the things that you can trust that we're going to do. And because I do like what you said there, and I hope our listeners get this, man, doing work for HOAs is tough. I don't care if you're in Jersey or Arizona or Iowa or wherever you're at, because what happens is there's just a loss of translation of it's just the communication of what is expected, what is the scope of work, who is doing it. And so when we did a lot of HOAs at Perfect Cut, the only way we would do HOAs is we demanded that we could go to the board meeting at least once a month. And the reason we did that was because we would lose them, and they'd be like, well, yeah, you guys didn't edge. It's not even on the scope of work. Of course we didn't edge. So what we found was these property managers would kind of make it look better, so they could either make some more money or make it look like they saved the association some money, and they would cut out some of our services. And then, here's this homeowner saying, well, you guys didn't prune last year. I'm like, well, we fucking wasn't even in the scope. It wasn't even in the bid. And it says here we're going to get pruned. And so we felt like, first off, we got out of the HOA work, but then when we got back into it, we just said, it has to be an established HOA, and we have to be able to attend once a month the meeting. And so we could directly talk to the board and see how we're performing. Otherwise, they just throw you in a spreadsheet and they pick the next Joe's Lawn Care gets it next year and Jim's Lawn Care gets it the year after that. And that was just a shitty business model. Because then what happens is these people think we suck, right? Then they tell their neighbors, you know what, Roach Brothers sucks and Brilliant Border sucks and Perfect Cut sucks. And they don't even realize that we didn't even know what was supposed to be done. And then what happens is they buy a home and now they hate us anyway. So that's where I got frustrated the most. I thought, here's all these people in these HOAs. At one point, we probably did 50 HOAs. And they're young couples, young married couples. Some are retired. And I'm like, they're going to buy a home. And they're going to choose somebody to install their landscape, install the irrigation, potentially spray the lawn. And they're never going to choose us because they think we're horrible.
Because you suck.
They think we suck, and they have no idea that we had no understanding, like we had no control over the scope of work in the first place. So that's when I remember thinking, like, we got to do something different.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. We do a lot of condos down here, and that's one thing I've said to whoever reaches out to me. I said, hey, you are my direct contact, whether it's the treasurer or however they work. I said, I go through you because you got couples that will come down and they would ask questions, and I'd be like, listen, lady, I got no idea. You got to go talk to Frank. You know what I mean? That's one thing I've made very clear, because we do a good bit of condos down here where it's not much. It's maybe a few strips of grass and some mulch and, monthly maintenance. But I go through this guy and this guy only. That's it. I'll wave to you and answer your questions. But you got questions, go to your treasurer or however they work, Yeah,
that is a frustrating thing, because it's like, when you guys go to prune, it's like, you got to talk to Jim. Like,
yeah, and I think it seems the guys that do the HOAs do them well, and the guys that don't do them, when you try to get into it, it's just a train wreck. And we were on the train wreck dumpster fire side of that thing.
Yeah.
We could never ever get it right, and I'd just get pissed.
We weren't great at it either.
They'd come out and, like you said, when are my bushes going to get trimmed? And I just want to tear their head off. It's
like, never, fucker. Right?
Yeah, I hear that. We don't have any HOAs around here. I hear it on the podcast, and it's the same conversations with you guys going back and forth with them. But we don't have one down here within an hour from us.
That's interesting.
But there are companies that kill it.
So there's a
do
couple
really well
in the Heartland group that bought Perfect Cut in the Heartland group. There's a couple companies. There's one that does nothing but HOAs, and they're designed to do HOAs. They know their crews are built that way. Their guys are built that way. They know about gutters and dog chains, and everybody knows that's just what they do. And it's okay. They're just really good at it.
Yeah.
And they found a niche, and everybody knows that they're the go-to. Just like the guy we talked to in Texas who did like 1,200 or 1,600 residentials.
Yep.
He's just really good at residentials. And we were like, why don't you do commercial? He's like, that's not what I do. And so, just like any business, what are you good at? And HOAs it's just a different animal, and it is tough though when you're getting judged by people who don't totally understand what the scope of work is, and they're pissed at you, and you're like, dude, like they coming out, they're just yelling at you, and you're like, when you guys go to prune? Like, never. It's not even in the. It's not even in the scope, man. Fuck off. Sorry. We might have to edit that, Kaz. Sorry, my bad. I got on a cussing spree.
It's been a while.
That's all right.
Matt,
what keeps you awake at night right now?
What keeps me awake is it keeps me awake. It's a good question. Really, I mean, just I don't know. It's a good question. You got me there. I mean, like with everything from as of now, employees and equipment and how I budget and, payroll, everything's in an okay spot. What keeps me awake really is just like, I just look forward to like the next year. Like I try to stay a quarter ahead. Like I got all the leaf junk, I don't want to say crap, ready for fall whenever that happens. But like, I'm just waiting for next spring, as weird as that sounds, I don't know, just to see what next year will hold, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, you're excited, to be excited about the future is not a bad thing. I remember when one time I told Stan, Dirt Monkey Genedick, I said, like, sleep was almost a burden for me. Like I was so at that moment when he asked me like kind of what was going on, we were grinding at Ballard and there was a ton of growth, and that was the best answer I had. Like nothing keeps me up. Like I just want to go. Like I was actually like sleep almost gets in the way. If I could not be tired and just go. Now that was like 5 years ago. Now I just kind of like.
Now you're almost 50.
Now I kind of like sleeping sometimes. I don't sleep much, but it's all these monsters I drink. But
yeah,
I hear you.
What's the best business advice you've ever been given?
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We're going to wrap this up with a quick word from our sponsor. We appreciate the support.
Ballard Products has what you need. If you're looking for one place to find all the gear you need, jump on Ballard-Inc.com. With over 30 years in the industry and now celebrating our 25th anniversary selling high-quality products, we've got your back. From mower gear, trailer racks, mower blades, safety gear, and so much more, you'll find everything you need to maximize your efforts and protect your gear in one place. And let's not forget about the carbide titanium gold blade options that cut amazing and last longer between sharpenings, giving you optimum performance in the field. We've got a bunch of new gear coming soon, so make sure that you're following Ballard to stay in the loop. Head over to Ballard-Inc.com today and get geared up. Now, go get after it. Ballard.
Hey guys, this is Alex Kirby. You may know me as the founder of Trifecta Landscaping, as well as being a guest here on The Green Grind. I've recently sold my 7-figure landscaping company so I can focus on helping the green industry level up with the Green Up Academy, a one-stop shop platform for education and community for green industry professionals. From courses to resources to coaching calls and strategic planning, my team is here to help you level up your business like never before. My first 6 foundation courses are completely free for a limited time, so make sure you use code GRIND when checking out, and you'll get a free 30-minute call with me, as well as get these 6 courses absolutely free. So make sure you hit us up at thegreenupacademy.com and join us as we help you grow in the green industry.
The best business advice. I've heard this on your other episodes, and honestly, I didn't have any help. You know, when I first started out, I called my dad and said, I'm coming home with the trailer. And he said, you better bleepity not do that, blah, blah, blah. You know, you work for 3 months. And I just did it. You know, I never had anyone to help. My accountant's a great guy. He kind of helped me in the beginning with, you know, putting money in certain accounts and doing all that stuff. But I've really had no one like a business guy or anyone to talk to, you know, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And I heard that on all your episodes, so I was really thinking hard for a second.
Let's flip it a little bit then. And what would you tell somebody new that is starting out that's just bringing that trailer home to their dad?
So I think the problem is, and I've talked to 2 great kids around here, and I've told them, if you're only working 3 days a week, you need to go get another job and do this. You know, don't, yes, look at the YouTube, look at the educational stuff, but you need to like work your ass off for a long time. You need to just keep going, man. You know, I have a lot of bigger companies say, oh, you know, I see you guys everywhere. There's only 2 trucks and 2 trailers on the road on a good day, you know, 5 days a week, sometimes 7. I was like, we're just so tight, and it's in such a tight area where we're over the same spots. And I tell these kids, I'm like, you just got to keep going, or anyone starting out. You know, I bought my first truck, a Ram 1500, and a little trailer with all the tip money and cash I made from 4 years at a marina. You know what I mean? Like, you got to keep going. I tell them all the time, like, there's one kid here that works for us 2 days a week. And I said, you're fine. You know, you're doing your own thing, and then you're working for us on weekends. But I don't think, and I'm not talking about it in a whole, because, you know, like my brother's young and his guys that work with us are great and they're healthy and they work. But a lot of these guys I don't think they have like that hustle. Like, you got to, and I'm not trying to be one of those people that, you know, motivational people, but you got to just go, man. You got to just go until the wheels fall off. And there's one kid, he's like, how do you save yourself from burnout? I said, dude, I got burned out one summer years ago. It's because I realized I wasn't charging enough. Now I feel like I'm good. You know what I mean? Again, not trying to say the whole burnout thing's not real, and I get it, but I'm happy, man. You know, I don't know.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I like the answer.
What was Brian's burnout answer?
Nobody's burnt out that's making any money.
Yeah, exactly. No one's
That's
burnt out
awesome.
if you're making money.
Yeah, it's a great. I like your answer, because I feel too that there's so much information out there, and I think that social media sometimes and YouTube and all these things make it look like this shit is an overnight success. Yeah,
Yep.
and that is so far from the truth. And it's hard, and it's a grind every single day. And you go in on Monday and you get your nuts kicked in, and then you go on Tuesday and you get it done again, and then you go in next week and you get the same thing done 3 days in a row. And it's the success comes, you know, day after day after day after day after day after day of doing this shit. It's not just overnight. And great.
I do. I think, and I agree with you, right? I'm a little bit frustrated with social media right now, and especially as we come up to Equip Expo, and these guys are all posting and they're telling all these stories, and I know the size of their companies, and they're really small, and I just think that I think it's can be discouraging almost to the guys that are actually out there grinding. Like, well, I want to be like him. I'm like, do you? And you know, it's frustrating. And but yeah, you got to put the work in. And I like your answer too. It's consistency. I just had a guy at the gym today came up to me and said, he asked me how old I was, probably because I haven't shaved and my face is gray. And he's like, what's the secret? And I'm like, dude, everyone asks me, like, I said, the secret is I just come in here 6 days a week. That's the secret. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I don't have any magic. I don't know how else to tell you.
Roids.
There's no secret. I got to get a new roid dealer because I've been doing this a long time and I'm I'm getting smaller actually. So I'm doing something wrong. But you know, in business, it's consistency. You know, if you want to be a great at anything, you got to be consistent day in and day out, and you got to work on those days that. I mean, I don't have a lot of them, but there's certainly days that I don't want to go to the gym. There's certainly days I don't want to go to the office. And those are the days I get up and go. I just go, and I can't think of one that I've regretted, where I come to the office for 2 or 3 hours on a Sunday and knock out some stuff, and I don't go home like, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I go home and I'm like, God, I feel good. Monday's going to be better.
Yeah. A podcast that I was listening to a few weeks ago or months ago or whatever the case was talking about that. And he was talking about the guys, how they, you know, if you work 5 days a week and put in, you know, the 45 to 50 hours a week, 5 days a week, you're leaps and bounds ahead of most guys out there, because most guys are going drinking on Thursday night. So they're average at best on Fridays, you know, and then they roll in Friday night and then they're hammered on Saturday morning. They're certainly not doing much on Saturday if they're going in at all.
Yep.
The Sunday, they're totally recovering. Then Monday, they're just dead ass tired and, you know, thinking about doing it the week prior, whatever they're doing on the weekends. It's like those guys that are dedicated and actually put the work in are always leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else every single time.
Absolutely.
You have to be. I mean, even like I said, these younger kids around here that cut grass, and they're great, man. Like, I've given them broken equipment they fix, but they say, oh, what do you do in the winter? I was like, man, like I don't, like I said, snow if it happens, but dude, go to Walmart, man. Everywhere's hiring. You got to just keep doing it. You know, I remember when I bought my first house out of high school, I was doing this, throwing trash, and that's when I was a part-time cop for one of the island towns, and that's how I got my mortgage, was from, you know, two full-time jobs and cutting grass. You know, I don't know. For these young guys, if you're healthy and in shape too, it's a big thing. You just got to keep going, man. You got to keep going. Because
nobody wants to work that hard. That's the problem. I shouldn't say nobody. A lot of people don't want to work that hard, but awesome. I appreciate you taking some time. Hey, if our listeners want to find you or reach out to you, where do they find you? Do you have any social media links, website? Where can they find you, bud?
Yes, sir. Instagram, Roach Brothers Lawn Care, and YouTube, Roach Brothers Lawn Care. We're trying to, I play with that whenever I get a new toy or a new piece of machine, something, but mainly Instagram and YouTube. So
fantastic. Guys, we drop a new episode of The Green Grind every Tuesday. If you want to be a guest or know someone wants to be a guest, just jump on the Ballard website, scroll down, you'll see the Green Grind logo. It shoots me a direct email. Makes my job a little bit easier. Don't shoot us a message on Instagram, only because it gets lost. And there's tons of stuff on Instagram, much of spam that comes through, and sometimes those messages get lost. But we appreciate Jobber and Pro Tip for being our sponsor. And Matt, man, we wish you all the best of luck out there. Keep doing what you're doing, and appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Thank you, guys. You're doing a good thing.
Thanks.
Thank you too. You guys really are. You're doing a good thing.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Matt.